Hey you guys, it is night and I am walking around outside. I live in the middle of the city, so at night no one's really around. It's pretty dead. And I kind of like to walk through the city and absorb some of the energy that's kind of left, It's like this energy of the day before, I guess. It's a lot of raw energy that I feel kind of just lingers around a city after all the people have gone from it. And it's kind of yours to use, I think. You're right. It's in the public. It's public energy. Um, Maybe I'd make a video about that. Kind of sort of like a, I don't know what I'd call it, like drawing energy from the land, drawing energy from structures, I don't know, it's a very cyber pagan thing, I guess, or like a urban pagan thing. Perhaps I'll talk about that later. But today I wanted to talk about gemstones. I mean, God, we all love gemstones, right? We all love them. So I want to talk about gemstones and what they mean to me. I guess for me, gemstones, I don't really use them physically. I know that's kind of the point of them, I guess, for some people, is to purchase them and collect them and use them. And, oh, look, a seat. And, to kind of have them to not really show off, but, to have like a visual representation of what you're working with and the energies to draw from. But, I don't know, for me, I don't use them physically. I don't really own that many. The ones I do own, I was gifted. And I do appreciate them. I love having the physicals. They're gorgeous. But I don't know. I was never really drawn to them, especially starting out. I just have never felt the need, still don't feel the need to buy them, to own them, or anything like that. I just didn't. And it wasn't for many, many years that I used them. I didn't. I just completely, I think I purposefully kind of shied away from them. And until around 5 years ago, which would be like, oh gosh, I guess 6 years ago now, huh? Looking to 2010, I started really wanting to work with male spirits more, particularly like spirits that were LGBT friendly. And ironically, I fell to one that I never considered LGBT. I know a lot of people probably don't. But I started working with Odin, which is weird because I do not see myself as a particularly masculine male, so I never worked with masculine male spirits. The spirits that I did work with that were male, they were very much like Apollo, and the sort like that, like Frou were very gay gods. But I started working with Odin, and he came to me, and he kind of taught me compassion and love and what that means, I guess, for me at least. And it was beautiful. He did so through gemstones, but again, not with physical gemstones. I incorporate a lot of like pop culture into my paganism. So like, I think if I see like ideas in like comics, because I'm a huge comic book reader, so I'll incorporate like the visualizations of superpowers into my my readings, my meditations, all of that. My spell casting, I'll just imagine it as almost like a superpower. And at the time, I was I knew I was in a bad place, and I had been in that bad place way too long. I had basically kind of tried to numb myself to the point of not feeling anything, which is so stupid, but we all do it. But yeah, I had numbed myself completely, and I had done so like visually in my mind, anytime I started to feel like really down, and like depressed, or really happy and excited, or really vulnerable, or really anything that felt too extreme for me to process, I would imagine my skin turning into diamond. Which, if you're familiar with comic books, the X-Men comic books, or the movies X-Men, there's a character called Emma Frost who, that's what she does. Her skin can turn to diamond. And when she's in that form, she doesn't feel things. Like, she doesn't feel, like, emotionally, or it kind of numbs her. And so I kind of took that idea and ran with it way too far. I mean, really, it was jeopardizing my friendships and everything at the time. I'd just become so apathetic and dead. And I just clung to this diamond skinned idea. Anytime I started to cry or feel sad or angry, or, like I said, even super happy, I would put on this diamond skin. And I had read in a book, forget which book, but I had read in a book, I think actually it may have been Gothcraft, by Raven Digitalis. Yeah, I think it was Gothcraft by Raven Digitalis. Great book, by the way, if you're interested in that kind of stuff. Like, seriously amazing. But, yeah, I had read that whenever you're shielding yourself, like doing creative visualizations of shielding, coloring your aura, whatever, you should always, like, imagine the energy a few feet or foot, a few feet from your actual body, just to give it space to not mesh with your aura, because it was like, the idea was like, if you let it mesh with your aura, then it becomes permanently infused or something, like, whatever. But I remember reading that, and was like, okay, I'll not do that. Let me try that. And after I used the diamond skin for a while, I thought, whatever, I'm going to totally fuse it to my body. I never want to let this go. So I did. And although I don't think it was because I, like, like, fused it to my aura by putting it too close. I don't believe that. I think it was just the intent of me wanting to not let the diamond skin off. So that was like a thing for me for a long time, was to numb myself constantly. I guess it kind of became like a drug, or some kind of substance abuse thing. I would use it for everything to not feel, a lot like people with substance abuses do. But yeah, I sorry if my hand's shaking. It's really cold outside and I didn't wear gloves, but I really want to be outside. But yeah, I used that diamond stuff for a while, and when Odin came in, I can't remember the exact moment when he came to me. I probably have it written down in one of my books, but he came to me, and the first thing he did was, kind of say, if you want to learn what love and compassion is, you're gonna have to get rid of this skin that you've made. And it's like, I remember thinking, okay, but I didn't say okay. And before I could even say or think okay, he completely ripped it from me. And it hurt, and I screamed. And I remember just feeling this flood of emotions. Kind of everything I guess I had been blocking out for the past couple years just came rushing in at that moment. And it sucked. And so I kind of had to process through all that, and that took a while. Like, a while. Probably a few months, maybe more. I don't know. I don't remember. But a long time. And once I kind of felt like I was in a better place again, had reclaimed parts of myself, he came to me again and he said, now, if you're ever feeling vulnerable again, like you need protection, use this instead. And he presented to me a ruby, like, in my mind, right? This is all like a visualization, this journey. He presented to me this diamond, like a huge huge chunk of diamond. Why am I trying to show you? It's not there. I don't know. But like this huge diamond. It was really big, like fist sized. And I put it near my heart chakra, and it enveloped my body like in a suit of armor made completely of rubies. It was awesome. And he kept saying, "This is the armor of compassion." And I still use that to this day. Like when I initially felt that covering my body in an armor, which could be taken off, huh? You're right. I kind of had flashbacks to when I was a little kid, and I really felt connected to my mom. So this had to be really young, like 5 and below, because the relationship with my mother went south really fast. So I remember thinking, like, back to that moment, being kind of back in that space, that childhood space where I loved everything and everything was innocent, and I didn't hate anyone, I didn't dislike anyone or anything, and all I saw was love and beauty and light and kindness, and that's all I knew to be true in the universe. And I felt like that again, and it was awesome, because it was the first time I'd felt like that since then, and I had become so cynical after that, like I think a lot of us do once we start experiencing darkness. But that was all gone. It was like it was shedded from me, and I felt light again. Like I felt light in every sense of that word. It was awesome. And yeah, I've been using it since, but on my path since then, I've come into other forms of armor that he's presented me to every time I come to like a new point in my life. And when at the time I was working at a job, actually not far from where I am right now, currently standing, and it was just such a negative environment. Like, I mean, I know all jobs usually tend to be negative environments, at least in my experience, when you go out and work in the public, especially in retail. But this place was just the worst job I've ever had. But I stayed there for 5 years. But the worst job I've ever had in terms of people's, like, negative energy just running rampant, like, uncontrolled. Like, every day I felt like I had to suit up, like, in these gemstones just to get through it. And even then, it was horrible. But anyway, he presented to me this amethyst at that time, and I put it, I think, over my third eye, just instinctively, like I do a lot of things. It's very instinctive magic. That should be the name of my magic if I ever termed like a traditional term for myself. Like, Jake, what's your tradition? Instinctive magic. In fact, maybe I just did that. But anyway, it was an amethyst, and it covered me in a suit of armor again, but made purely of amethyst, and it got rid of, negativity. It kept it from attaching itself to me or me taking it in or whatever against my better judgment. But since then, he's given me all sorts, like, for self-confidence when I was getting a new job, so I could, like, really pass this series of interviews that I had to go through. It was really crazy how many interviews I had to do for this job I have now. But he gave me sapphire, and I put it on, and it was wearing this blue sapphire armor during the whole interview, and I felt so confident. Like, my body language changed, and, like, I stood confidently, I sat confidently, I sat upright, and I spoke really stern, and, like, probably, I think, if I recall, like, in a deeper tone, and it was really weird. But it really helped me get through it. And so now, anytime I ever get into somewhere where I feel unsafe, like, even if I'm just going out in public, I'll put on this, like, rainbow armor, which is like an amalgamation, whatever, anyway, of all of these gemstones into one suit of armor. And it's awesome. Like, there's a quartz armor for when I feel like I just need to have a little oomph. Like, it's almost like a glamour armor for me. But it's awesome. It's awesome. And of course, it's in a warrior context, because that's kind of the nature of my spiritual path and the instinctive warrior. And yeah, it is awesome. I mean, that's what's influenced my name, obviously, Gem Warrior, right? It was just awesome. I think that I guess the point I'm kind of trying to make here is don't limit yourself by what you have physically. Don't limit yourself with tools. Because I know as witches and shamans and druids and all of that, we get really obsessed with tools and owning them and having them and looking at them and having all these pretty things. And yeah, they're really great to have, but you don't have to have any of them to work your magic. Um, you can have them all spiritually, or you can find even completely different ways to work your magic, which is awesome. But all you really need is this, and this, like nature. I know that didn't look like nature, right? But I'm an urban pagan, so it is to me. Um, but yeah, don't limit yourself with your tools, and really trust your instincts and trust your spirits because that you work with, because they'll give you amazing tools to work with. Um, yeah, I guess that's it, you guys. Gemstones are incredibly awesome, and you don't have to own them to work with them. You can use the energy of anything without actually having it with you. Yeah, I guess that's it. Bye.